Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump right into this because today we are unpacking the fascinating inner workings of organizational leadership. If you've ever found yourself wondering how the gears of a massive company actually turn, or, why the people in charge make the decisions they do, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to completely strip away the corporate buzzwords today and look at the real, grounded principles of management.
Right off the bat, what does a manager actually do? It's a deceptively simple question, isn't it? Before we get bogged down in academic theories and textbook definitions, we really need to look at what management genuinely looks like on a daily basis. Pretty much everyone has a manager, or is a manager, or aspires to be one. But the lived reality of that role, it can vary wildly depending on exactly where you sit in the organization.
Take a look at this pyramid. It's basically a map of who makes the calls. It's not just a shape. It's a literal stack of decision makers. Notice how the responsibilities and, honestly, the sheer weight of decision-making compound as you move from that broad base of frontline workers all the way up to the solitary figures right at the peak. Every single level of this pyramid experiences a completely different reality of what it actually means to manage. Section 1. The MD's Diary, a macro view. Up at the very top, the air is just a little different, and the pacing completely shifts. Listen to this real perspective from a managing director. We do the work today, but I try to maintain my focus out another year or two all the time and where we want to be in 3 years' time. So the big takeaway here is that the top manager is essentially living in the future. Their daily effort doesn't go into producing today's widget, it goes into coaching, directing, and leading their people toward this grand, long-term strategic vision. They are the ones steering the massive ship. Now, they aren't totally lost in the clouds, right? Alongside that grand 3-year vision, the managing director absolutely must ensure the normal, foundational operational stuff is locked down tight. If costs are spiraling out of control, if quality and safety take a nosedive, or customer support completely fails, well, that 3-year vision is never going to happen. So they have to maintain this dual focus. Eyes on the horizon, for sure, but keeping a really firm hand on the foundational health of the business today. Section 2. The subordinates log, the micro view. Okay, let's pivot and drop sharply back down the pyramid. We hit a totally different reality here. Being the first-line manager means you are the meat in the sandwich. I absolutely love this quote because it captures such a visceral, relatable human tension. When you step into that first-line manager role, you suddenly have responsibilities for subordinates, but you are still very much a subordinate yourself to the senior management above you. You are literally squeezed from both sides. Think about the day-to-day interpersonal grind here. Imagine getting promoted from the ranks, boom. Suddenly, the people who were your buddies and peers yesterday, today, you have to direct them. You're constantly battling this internal conflict of doing what's best for the firm versus what keeps your team happy. And what if you have to manage older, senior individuals who actually have way more experience in the business than you do? It is a serious high-wire balancing act between your colleagues, demanding customers, and the endless administrative reporting that the folks up at the top need from you. So let's put these two extremes side by side. On the one hand, you have the MD's macro focus, thinking 3 years out, setting the strategic direction. On the other hand, you have the subordinates' micro-focus, putting out daily fires, navigating awkward peer transitions, balancing admin. Seeing these two vastly different realities really begs a fascinating question. How on earth did management ever evolve into a discipline capable of holding this incredibly complex, stressful human pyramid together? Section 3, Management's Interdisciplinary Roots. Well, to understand how modern management holds it all together, we actually have to look backward. Management's DNA is incredibly broad. It evolved from a really rich heritage of humanities and social sciences. It's not just business administration. It draws heavily on economics for resource allocation, sociology and psychology to understand human behavior and team dynamics, political science to navigate organizational power structures, and maths and stats for the hard quantitative analysis. But I really want to draw your attention to philosophy down at the bottom. Philosophy provides the critical framework for examining an organization's values and ethics. It's the philosophical foundation that ultimately dictates how a company treats that meat in the sandwich manager we just talked about. Section 4. Early Management Pioneers. So, who actually started piecing this giant puzzle together? Chronologically, we can trace early management thought all the way back to 1776 with Adam Smith, looking at the division of labor. Then to Charles Babbage in the 1800s. And all of these ideas eventually collided head-on with the massive societal shifts of the Industrial Revolution prior to the 1900s. Suddenly, human beings were being organized in factories on a scale never before seen in human history. That demanded entirely new ways of thinking about how we work. And Robert Owen is a perfect example of the human side of that history. He was a crucial figure among the early behaviorists. During a time when industrial efficiency was, let's be honest, almost always prioritized over human life, Owen passionately advocated for the working and living conditions of employees. Think about how directly that links back to the human struggles of our modern first-line manager today. The effort to balance the firm's productive needs with the genuine, real-world needs of the subordinates is a conversation we have literally been having for over a century. The crucial point to take away here is that these early pioneers laid the bedrock. From those initial ideas, management thought just exploded into diverse theories to handle the growing complexities of business. We saw the rise of scientific management, focusing on pure efficiency, bureaucratic and administrative management, focusing on structure, and behavioral science, focusing heavily on the psychology of the workers. All of these theories are essentially tools. They are the tools that both our managing director and our first-line manager draw upon to survive and hopefully thrive in that pyramid today.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway for this explainer. We've traced the rich, interdisciplinary history of management. We've seen the expansive, 3-year vision required at the very top, and we felt the intense, daily squeeze of being the meat in the sandwich down at the front lines. So, whether your role demands that you look 3 years into the future or just requires you to navigate the tricky internal conflicts of surviving today, armed with this understanding of the realities and roots of management, what kind of manager will you be?